Wednesday number 492. We are calling for justice for all victims of police violence. Mic check, mic check.
Mic check. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And this is our final West Wednesday of the year. This is the final West Wednesday of 2022. And normally we start you off with the video of one of the first killers, Officer Ruiz. But tonight we're going to start you guys off with an exclusive interview I did for CBS. So just stay tuned. Watch that video real quick with us. And we will be joining you shortly after that. Mic check.
CBS News investigation into an unprecedented review underway in Maryland right now of 100 cases of people who died in police custody. All of these deaths happened during the tenure of former state medical examiner Dr. David Fowler. His testimony in the George Floyd murder case last year led to the review. Chief investigative correspondent Jim Axelrod is with us now with more on the story. The interview that we saw with the woman that you talked to was certainly a tease for this piece.
Powerful, Gail.
Yes,
powerful.
It was.
As chief medical examiner for the state of Maryland, Dr. David Fowler oversaw more than 1,300 cases of deaths in custody. His record is now being called into question following his testimony as a witness for the defense in the trial last year of the Minneapolis police officer convicted of murdering George Floyd. A warning, some of the footage of George Floyd's final encounter with police is difficult to watch.
Your Honor, the defense calls Dr. David Fowler.
When medical examiner David Fowler took the stand in 2021 as a defense expert for Derek Chauvin, the cop convicted of murdering George Floyd, Tawanda Jones was watching the trial from her home in Baltimore.
I wanted to knock my TV off the wall. This man that I've been telling y'all about, you put him up to be an expert witness? Are you serious?
This is one of those cases where you have so many conflicting, different manners.
Dr. Fowler saw what few others did.
I would fall back to undetermined.
He argued that a combination of factors made it impossible to determine the true cause of Floyd's death. Dr. Fowler's position conflicted with the clear video evidence.
Find the defendant guilty.
And the jury's verdict.
I was disgusted.
Jones was disgusted because Dr. Fowler was the chief medical examiner for the state of Maryland, who signed off on the ruling that the manner of death could not be determined in another case in 2013, the death of her own brother, Tyrone West.
I instantly died with my brother on July the 18th.
West was pulled over by police in Baltimore nearly a decade ago. He struggled with the cops, was cuffed, and died.
They just said that my brother had some type of health issue and died in police restraint. That was their words. And we're like, what health issue? Like, what are you talking about?
What do you think was going on?
They were covering up.
But Tawanda Jones wasn't the only one outraged by Dr. Fowler's testimony.
To have that type of analysis on the stand, I was appalled.
Dr. Roger Mitchell spent 7 years as the chief medical examiner in Washington, D.C.
I knew I had to do something at that point.
Dr. Mitchell wrote this letter calling for an immediate review of every death in custody during Dr. Fowler's tenure in Maryland. 1,300 cases over 17 years.
In the work that I've done throughout the country, there is a culture of deciding when there is an altercation with law enforcement. Their manners of death are called accidents and undetermined.
How does that change the potential likelihood of a prosecution of a law enforcement officer for the death of somebody in custody?
I think it's a big issue. Many prosecutors won't take a case to prosecution if it's determined as an accident or an undetermined.
More than 400 other medical professionals signed on to Mitchell's letter calling for a review.
When you get a letter from 400 experts saying something's wrong, there's a pretty good chance that they have something that you should take a hard look at.
Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosh has zeroed in on about 100 cases of individuals in custody who were physically restrained and then died, with Dr. Fowler's office then ruling the cause as undetermined.
It was the undetermined that we were most interested in. But more importantly, we want to see, is there a routine that is wrong?
Would it be your expectation that this review could lead to criminal charges if they were warranted?
Well, if they were warranted, I would hope that it would.
The 100 cases under review are being kept secret, but Tawanda Jones refuses to believe her brother's case could be forgotten.
What are you going to do if your brother's case is not among the 100+ being reviewed?
Oh, I know it is. I know it is. But in the case that is not, I'm going to keep on fighting like I've been fighting.
We wrote to and called Dr. Fowler several times. He did not respond. However, earlier he had said in a statement that he's confident his office, quote, met or exceeded professional standards.
So we're hearing that they're reviewing 100 cases.
Yeah.
What's going to come next? I'm still stuck by her last comment about her brother's case. Do we know if her brother's case is part of it, and what does come next?
Well, first things first. So the AG we just heard from leaves office January 3rd. The incoming Attorney General, a man named Anthony Brown, hasn't committed yet to whether or not this process will continue. He hasn't said it won't. He hasn't given any indication, but we have to wait until January 3rd to see if the next Attorney General will continue this. It's a long and complex process.
Is Fowler still in business, so to speak?
Well, I mean, he is not the medical examiner, but he is offering defense testimony in cases, as you saw he did in the Chauvin case.
But if the new guy comes in, Jim, and decides he doesn't want to review it, is that the end of it?
Yeah, but he hasn't given any indication. And I will say it's a process that could take, I mean, we're talking weeks, months, years. It's not going to be days.
Right.
But we will be staying on this story. Too important to lose track of.
Jim Axelrod, thank you.
Mic check.
Mic check.
So thank you guys.
Mic check.
Mic check. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you, Brother Ben, for playing that powerful piece. And I want to give CBS News a big shout out for covering this. And I also want to give Dr. Mitchell a big shout out, because had it not been for Dr. Mitchell getting the rest of those forensic doctors, those 400 doctors to actually sign off, we would still be stuck at 2013. Literally, when my family, my supporters, my friends, we were all out in front of the medical examiner's office, and no one was taking us serious. It was to the point that I was so devastated that I actually went into my own pocketbook when it took them 154 days literally to give my family a flimsy 7-page autopsy that did not include any pictures, nothing. It pretty much was a regurgitation of the killer cops. And you want to make it seem like, oh, my brother just died in police restraint, he just dropped dead, he was unhealthy. Not the fact that he was beaten to death by 17 killer cops. I'm talking about fists, batons. I'm talking about tortured, literally. And it's just really sad. And so as we close out as we close out the last West Wednesday of the year, you know, my heart is still really tattered and torn, even though we had accomplished a lot over the last past year, and last past years getting like small victories, such as the gag order that happened in 2020, I believe. We got the gag order bill passed, you know, into law, that nobody would be silenced for you know, speaking their truth and telling what happened to them. But at the same time, none of those killers that murdered my brother is in a cell block. And that's very devastating to me. And to know that the first killer, Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. You know, leading up to my brother, there was 5 or more victims that we know of. Like, this all could have been prevented. Like, maybe my brother could have been a surviving victim. Be a victim whether they survive or die, but the fact that he was tortured in broad daylight, and me and my family and friends have been left with no answers, no accountability, and it's just sad. But to know that he's actually working, he's a sergeant now, he's living his life, he's married to a state prosecutor. Like, this is sad and disgusting, and nobody's doing nothing. But again, I'm just trying to reflect and look back, like just being, you know, out in the streets, boots on the ground before the pandemic hit. We never ever missed an outdoor West Wednesday. Like never. I don't care what the weather was, what was going on. I don't it done been times that I done literally stepped out of from being sick, or like just I don't like had so many West Wednesdays that I'm just shocked that I even showed up for. And I'll never forget the West Wednesday in 2021 when my cousin Tavon Anderson was murdered. That was the most devastating West Wednesday ever. And it took my whole entire soul out of my body just to do a West Wednesday. Like I cried all day. I didn't, and I'm still crying because we still don't have no accountability. My family still don't even know all the facts and what happened to my cousin Tavon Anderson, but yet we deal with a corrupt state. We corrupt politicians, corrupt prosecutors that always want us to be silenced when it comes to this deadly violence. I'm tired of being quiet, but I be quiet out of respect for my family. But it's just sad, like nobody family should be forced into silence because that condones the violence. At the end of the day, this is why so many murderers are getting away scot-free, and there's just so much going on. Like we should not be leaving another year, guys, with so many family members losing their loved ones due to violence, gun violence, murder. Like that is so sad and disgusting. Like you talk about empty seats at tables. This is beyond heartbreaking. And every year the homicide rate goes skyrocket high, and meanwhile you have spectators just sitting along the side. Nobody's doing nothing, but all they're doing is just counting our bodies as if we don't count. And if you think about it, look at when the body rate started to go skyrocket high, like literally, which to me, going on 200 homicides, that's bad, that's devastating, that's heartbreaking. But literally to go from that to 300 plus or more, ever since we had the uprising of Freddie Gray, when Freddie Gray was brutally murdered, and the world was watching, and everybody stood together in solidarity, and we all connected and said, you know what happened to Freddie Gray shouldn't have never happened. And we stood up, and that's when the Baltimore City Police Departments from every different, whether they're in the county, wherever they took a vow to say, even though they wasn't doing nothing but serving and protecting property in your way, but that's a whole nother story. But they really said, you know what? You guys want to take a stand and talk about, the blue wall of silence and all this kind of stuff. We're not going to protect you. This is going to be the Wild Wild West, and it's still like that. Like, this is so disgusting, and we don't see it. Like, so many of our loved ones are being murdered more than people that are fighting overseas. Like, we literally had people that go to war and survive war and be really like mentally messed up, but they survive. But meanwhile, we got all this trauma right here in our city, on our streets, just happening, and all they could do is just count a number. You having like 4 and 5 homicides in one night, and that's okay? That is disgusting. That is heartbreaking. It's so devastating. Like, it's to the point I don't even know what to say, but I'm just reflecting back on West Wednesdays. And like I said, being forced into a space where we could see, like literally for ourselves, and numbers don't lie, that as soon as everybody pulled together in 2015, that's when this city became the purge. That's when this city just went completely downhill. It was already going downhill because, as my family was telling you guys back in 2013, we're like, guys, you really need to look into the Baltimore City Police Department. I know what we're saying doesn't sound right. It sounds crazy. It sounds absurd, but it is the truth. Like, literally, somebody murdered my brother. Somebody broke in his house. It looked like, the landlord described it as a house raid. There was no forced entry. No burglars going to come and set out stuff that they came in to get, like TVs and material objects, and you just leave it. Like, why did you commit a crime or burglary if you're going to leave the goods that you come for? Like, no, that was a true act of the Gun Trace Task Force. And to know that Ruiz was a part of the elite Gun Trace Task Force, and now he's sergeant, and they get promotion, then he's not the only one. Like Chapman, with his violence of every last animal that murdered my brother, they are violent repeat offenders, and it's sad and disgusting. So I urge you, as we go into 2023, like, if you ever had any incidents, anything that ever happened, any engagement, any violent encounters with any of those killers, please contact me. We need to do something, because us standing back is pretty much condoning what they're doing, and it's not right. Even though a lot of laws protect them, like, we are the ones that are unprotected. They're protected by all type of laws. They are truly protected. They get qualified immunity. They kill our loved ones in cold blood and get qualified immunity. And that's sad and disgusting. Meanwhile, our loved ones are being murdered in the street on video camera, their body footage, all types of stuff, and nothing happens. And I think as we close this year out, what really saddens and breaks my heart even more is we still don't have Timothy Fleming's autopsy report. And they broke my oh my God, I can't even get myself together because it's so sad and disgusting. But they broke my sister's heart, right before Thanksgiving, a day before Thanksgiving, to say, that they wasn't going to prosecute any of those stinking animals, Zimmerman, and those animals that came in and murdered Timothy Flemings in cold blood. And then I even think further back, if I want to go to the year before my brother was killed, when Anthony Anderson was tossed on his head like a basketball, murdered in front of his mother, murdered in front of his grandbaby, and all his family members stood out there as he was heisted up into the air, tossed to the ground as if his life didn't matter, and nobody got charged for that, even though back then the medical examiner's office deemed it as a homicide. But how do you justify a homicide? If I go and murder somebody, they're not going to justify, say, oh, well, you know what, that's a justifiable homicide. Why is it when these killer cops murder us in cold blood, they justify it? It is sad and very disgusting. And I even think about poor Kevin Cooper. Many years ago, decades ago, he was murdered, a 14-year-old baby, in Miss Greta's home. And they justified his homicide. Like, are you kidding me? So enough is enough. As we go into the new year, we need to have our demands ready, on point, and we need to hold these people accountable as they go sit down in office. Don't even give them a minute to get comfortable, because once we do that, it is all over with. Because at the end of the day, they always want our votes. They solicited us. They come in. That's the only time you see them in the community acting like they care or doing something, is when they need our votes. You'll hear them. They'll meet with your family. They'll meet with your friends. They'll come sit down at your church, sit with the congregation. They'll do anything to get our votes. And as soon as they get in their comfy position, then they don't even know us. They don't even care if our family members are murdered, and they're not even saying anything. Like, all this bloodshed. And the saddest part is, certain cases, they involve themselves in, depending, and this is my opinion, this is not the West Wednesday Coalition, this is strictly Tawanda Jones. I feel as though a lot of racist things are happening within our system, and depending on your status quo, your color, all that, your financial history, all that plays a part into who gets accountability and who doesn't. They don't care, because guess what? I guarantee you, if all these bodies that were slaughtered, we're talking about women. I never seen, this is the year that I done seen the most happen to mothers and babies. I never seen a year where you just have so many women and babies just slaughtered, and all it does is just play on the news for a few seconds, and these jokes and folks, they go back and they get to be with their loved ones. But meanwhile, we're burying our loved ones. And the saddest part, most of the family loved ones that are getting slaughtered out here don't even have enough of money to bury their loved ones. Half the time, if they want to do like a burial and maybe have, and it's up to everybody, like to each his own, because you have some, I'd rather have my loved one cremated. That's the way it, and I respect whatever which way that you want to go. That's your loved one. But what if you didn't want to have your loved one cremated? But the saddest part is if you don't have those dollars, then guess what? You don't even have a choice to have your loved one go out of this world the way you would have them go out. And you're forced to have your baby or loved one or family member cremated. And that's just sad and disgusting. And meanwhile, all the city can do is offer when your loved one is hurt on the streets. But they don't do nothing to protect them. But as soon as they're murdered, then they want to give a family member a lousy check up to $5,000 for our blood. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, enough is enough. Like, I'm so sick and I'm so sad and I'm very disgusted that it actually takes for things to hit the national level before people actually pay attention to what was going on right slam in your face. Like, it shouldn't have took David Fowler being tossed under the bus by different forensic doctors when we were telling you this for years. I've been out there with George King family, a baby that was tasered to death in Good Sam's Hospital. You go in for a toothache, but yet you get tasered like 5 times and you die in the medical examiner's office. He don't say, oh, you were murdered. David Fowler didn't say that. No, David Fowler said George King died from natural causes. You're talking about a 19-year-old baby died from natural freaking causes. And nobody sees nothing wrong with that. And let's not just talk about the police brutality victims, because he don't just do that to them. He's a racist piece of crap. A lot of these unsolved, like he'll deem them as undetermined, all this stuff. Like I remember meeting a poor family of a lady pretty much that was murdered. Her skirt was lifted upon her head. You could tell that she was beat, probably raped, tortured, but yet he said it was undetermined just because he wanted to judge her lifestyle. And this goes on. He needs charges. To me, just being like, then he's not even working, and then he got a nerve to be in the role of an expert witness. Are you kidding? They want these devils as expert witnesses. Then they know how foul they are. Like everybody, like anybody that worked in a medical examiner's office for decades under his administration knew how foul he was. And for them to have kept their lips tight and closed all these years, including Pamela Southall or any of those jokers, shame on y'all. Y'all may don't get what is born to y'all down here on earth, but trust me, your day is coming. I don't wish anything bad on anyone, but when you're living and you're not living with integrity, you're not treating human families as human beings. Like, how dare you will probably give an accurate case of murder to an animal. If a dog got ran over on the street or gunned down, you would say, you know what? That was murder towards an animal. He had bullet wounds, all this stuff, before you say that about a black body or a brown body. It's disgusting. Or a poor body. Because like I said, you don't even have to be black or brown. You could be Caucasian. But if you don't fit the racist Fowler's standards, he's gonna just pretty much toss you to the wolves. And that's it. We need to toss him to the wolves. And we need to, as we getting a new AG, we need to hold the new AG accountable when he gets in office. And not just him, we need to hold Ivan Bates accountable. We need to hold Everybody that's sworn into office to say that we are here for the people and we're going to do our job, everybody needs to be held to a higher standard. And it's just sad. Like I said, a whole lot have happened, and again, they solve what they want to solve. They put up money for different cases they want to put up. But meanwhile, we have all these cameras, and literally even the poor guy that was just murdered this year at the gas station, and then the 23-year-old that was gunned down with him, but he survived. All those cameras, you mean to tell me they got a brand new bank right there in Northwood Plaza, but it's not called Northwood Plaza anymore. I forgot what it's called. But for them to have so many cameras and all this money that they invested over there, you mean to tell me you couldn't catch a shooter? Like, get out of here. Like, we need to really look at what's going on. When you're seeing babies and mothers and just fathers, you can't even walk and get up. If you smoke, you can't walk and get a pack of cigarettes. If you drink and you want to go get a soda, you can't even go get a soda. You're not safe in church. You're not safe anywhere. And the reason why I said church, let's not forget last year when we had an elderly woman at a church murdered. At a church, we'll get upset for the moment, like, oh my goodness, that's so sad, and then we'll just let their stories go. This is sad and very disgusting, and I'm just over it right now. Like, I'm never over this fight, but I'm just over humans, the way that they treat each other. The way that we treat each other is really sad and disgusting, because if everyone took a stance and said, I want to treat someone the way I want my family to be treated, or the way I would want to be treated, we would then have a beautiful, beautiful world, of peace, love, and integrity. But right now, when it's not your family and you don't care and you lie and you know the truth and you sweep it right underneath of the rug, we're in real sad times. But again, like I said, we had our struggles going through these past years, but at the same time, just us upholding each other and just kind of sticking together, because guess what? At the end of the day, the truth will come out. It doesn't matter how many years, but I do not want to go into 2023 and then to have the 10-year commemoration of my brother's murder and nobody be held accountable. When we had video footage that never showed up, we had witnesses that were disqualified as a witness. How can you disqualify a witness as saying what he or she saw that didn't even know my brother? And you say, well, you know what? You're 5'3". You were standing by a tree that's a little bit taller than you, so I'm not going to trust your word. But I guarantee you, if my brother Tyrone West was the murderer and he murdered any of those animals, you better believe me, those 32 plus witnesses, all their words would have been credible. It would have been the Bible. It would have been everything. Because like I said, when they wanted to fit into their stuff, oh yeah, it fits. But if it don't fit with them, oh no, you're going to get swept underneath of the rug. So I'm just like praying for my city, and just praying for real change. And most importantly, we're demanding. We're at a stance right now. We have a demand list tonight. We're going to probably read some things off. But meanwhile, I want to check in just really quick to see if anybody else that's on our, on the West Coalition line want to add to the conversation. So I'm going to be quiet, mute my mic, and just turn it over with a mic check to see if anybody want to say something to add on to the things that we have endured as a coalition, and just pretty much trying to survive through 2022. Mic check.
Mic check.
So, Brother Brown, would you like to add on anything? Is our sister Angela on, or did she have to leave? Like, is anybody else in queue that want to add on or say anything? Mic check.
Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
You kind of breaking up, but I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I did want to say one thing. we always say when we're on here, we all we got, we all we need. We're not all we have, and we're not all we need, because the more people that come out and support this cause, the better it would be for not only this coalition, but for all of us as one. You know, you have some people who are afraid to come forth because they don't know really what to expect, and they stand back in fear. And we have to come together better as a people to let them know that this is not right and this cannot continue as us being human beings. And like my queen just said, you would rather be there and be more supportive of an animal than you would be for a human being. And that's really sad and disgusting, just like she said. But I just said all that to say that all of us as a whole, I don't care if you purple with polka dots. If you have something that has happened to you or your family, you can come to us, to the West Wednesday Coalition. We have your back. And we are here for everyone who needs us and who needs the support and the love of the West Wednesday Coalition. If it hadn't been for West Wednesday to Jones, I don't know where I would be right now. I would probably be a nut, because it's hard when you have friends and family, and just because it's not directly them, they act like they understand what you're going through, but they really don't. But you have to get with strangers, people that you just meet on a whim, who have your back and who's there for you, and who's willing to take that next step and stand strong and firm for you and your loved one. People who they probably have never met or probably have never even heard of until they saw it on the news or heard it word of mouth on the street. And I just want to say I am very happy, honored, and privileged to be in the West Wednesday Coalition and to be a good friend with the ones. I mean, I just cannot hold a candle to you. I love everything that you do and everything that you're doing. And I will tell you right now, don't give up. Keep the fight going. And as long as I have breath in my body, I am going to with you as long as I can. Mic check.
A mic check, and thank you for that, my queen. And I just want to, recognize you as well, because for all the stuff that you have been through, and you still, out here fighting for people that you don't even know, speaks volumes. Like, I know what it feels like to lose a big brother that was like my everything, like a father figure. Like, literally, I can even compare my brother to my mother, because literally, like, when me and him connect, I would always see my mother. So just, that's the reason why I fight so hard, because he was like everything wrapped up into one. But literally, for you to actually lose your father-in-law, Anthony Anderson, who you never got a chance to meet, and for you to literally turn around 2 weeks later and lose your beautiful daughter. You're like, that speaks in volume for you to just have the strength to do what you're doing and push past the pain. And like, even now with you doing like your little comedian act stuff, this all the stuff you're doing, just doing the football team, you and your husband, just the amazing work that you guys are doing. It's just sad that we have to actually live through these nightmares that we are forced into. Nobody signs up for a club that kicks our butt all the way around the board, that don't give a damn about us. Excuse my French, but we still have to push through that and put a smile on our face and contribute to society in a positive way. It's real hurtful, but like I said, I just want to thank you and I commend you and your strength. And I just ask you, to keep doing the things that you're doing, and we will get through this, And that's pretty much all I want to say. And I want to check in to see if any of our other coalition family want to say anything to add to the conversation before we go to the line, till we go to the boards to read the comments or questions. Mic check.
Mic check.
Okay, well, I want to check in with our brother to see if our brother Marcellus is in queue because I see that. Oh, hey, Marcellus, you're looking good.
Hey,
How you doing, my brother? How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Awesome. Good seeing you. And as we're approaching in a few days the New Year on Sunday, I just want to wish you a step ahead of time and wish you a happy New Year's. And it's our last West Wednesday of the year, and I want to check in with the comments and questions. Mic check.
Mic check. Adina says mic check. Bruce says good evening, everyone. Smiley says mic check. Angela says mic check. Great interview, sis. Accountability is coming. Cell blocks for killer cops. Dina says forced silence condones violence. Smiley says absolutely. Nobody's family should be forced into silence when their loved ones is killed by police. Hillary says beyond time for accountability. Thank you for your persistence. Adina says the promotions prove that the corruption goes up through the ranks. Angela says we have to stop being afraid to speak up. If you see something, say something.
Yep.
Smiley says after the uprising, Baltimore has consistently had over 300 murders, and yet BCPD continues to have an increased budget. Adina says the Internal Affairs Division needs to be investigated. They're the ones that decide to call brutality complaints unsustained, therefore partaking in the corrupt cover-up for violent officers. Smiley says the families of Kevin Cooper, Anthony Anderson, Timothy Fleming still haven't received accountability. Angela says we have to keep fighting. We can't let them forget our loved ones' lives mattered. Hillary says no more silence, no more condoning police violence, no more racist policing. We all need respectful, unarmed peacekeeping. Adina says they disqualified witnesses that didn't adhere to the police false narrative. Max says justice for Tyrone West, and he says hey to Wanda. Mic check.
Mic check. And thank you so much, Marcellus, for taking on the task of reading the names and things. Not reading the names, but reading the comments. And hey, everybody, and thank you guys for your feedback. And Adina's always on fire. Angela's always on fire. Hillary, just all of you guys. And hey, Bruce, just thank you guys so much. And right now, I want to check to see if my sister Gohard is in queue because I know she's going to be reading the names tonight, but before she do that, I want to see if she has any of our demands that we are looking forward to coming up in the new year, and I just want to check in with her. Mic check.
Mic check.
Hey sis, how are you?
Hey, I'm solid. How you doing, T?
All right. I was wondering, did you have like our list of demands, or you just only have like the list of the police brutality victims?
Solid. Yeah, I do. You ready?
Which one? What list are you gonna read now? Are you gonna read the list, our demand list, or the police brutality list?
If you want, let's do names and the names of victims, and then our demands.
Okay. All right. Well, before we do that, because normally how we do it is we'll like go into prayer, because at the end of the day, we love showing respect to the families, because it's hard enough that they're literally, doing the most horrible thing of like dealing and accepting something that they never asked for. That is horrible. I wouldn't wish that pain on nobody. So I just want to show respect before we read any of the sad lists. And then also before I go in anything, I just want to let y'all know tonight this will be a little bit different, because normally what happens is we'll always, just out of respect for the families, just read, like cover everything we need to cover and leave on the hearts and minds of the victims, and just leave it like that. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit awkward tonight. So you said you wanted to read the names first, and then you said you wanted to read the demands. Mic check. Serafina, you say you wanted to read the demands first? Or the list? I'm sorry. So I don't know if we lost Gohard or not. Is she still there?
She's
Hey, can you
still
hear me now?
connected. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, Gohard, I had a question. I was wondering, is it possible, just because out of respect, because I don't want to like twitch that up, because I I feel discombobulated a little bit because I'm so used to going on cue. Is it possible that we could read out demands first and roll with everything before we go into the sad list? Is that
Yeah, of
okay with
course.
you? Okay,
Of
so
course.
could you go ahead and share our demands? Because, like I said, the families need us to really love up on them, and I don't want to do things differently and kind of disrupt their peace or the way that we normally go about respecting them. So, yeah, let's just go with the demands first, please, and then we'll do our sad list towards the end. So, and thank you so much again for tuning in and being a part of this. And yeah, so could you go give everybody our demands? Mic check.
Mic check. We look forward to a future when the expectation of accountability and equity is realized in all parts of the legal system, including police officers, medical examiners, prosecutors, judges, sheriffs, corrections, parole, probation, and others who have been asked.
Yes. Whew, that was so powerful. And we definitely look forward to that. And I thank you so much for sharing that. So before I go into like saying the names of introducing you guys to read off of the sad list, I wanna one more time check in with anybody in the coalition to see if there's anything that they wanna add, share to our conversation about 2022. Mic check. All right. So I'll check in real quick with Marcellus because I don't believe we have any additional comments or questions, but I still want to check in real quick. Marcellus, do we have any additional comments or questions? Mic check.
Mic check. No additional comments.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. Well, this is the part that I do not like. So I want us to please just take 2 minutes. Respect, show love, send positive. Because even though you hear a name and it may not even register to you that it was murder or someone is really hurt and sad and disrupted, because guess what? When you get that phone call, or even if you don't get it, but once that news hit you that your loved one is no longer here, when I say it knocks you off your feet, when I say it literally rips your heart out, grinds it into pieces, and now your whole entire world has been shook upside down, inside out, and you are forced to deal with everything that you have to do, your daily life of paying your bills, taking care of your family, and trying to deal with the trauma of losing a loved one. That is so hard, devastating. So I just ask you that if you are into church and you pray, please take these 2 minutes to say a prayer, send love. And if you don't pray and you're not in the church, that is fine too. Please just send positive energy, thoughts, and care and love to these names that we are about to read, because these are someone loved ones. And as we approach a new year, their loved ones is no longer a part of the year anymore. This is sad and heartbreaking. And it's a news, like I said, that no one wants to hear, that their loved one is no longer here. Like I said, you at a loss for words. It literally could kill you. That's how devastating the pain is. If you're not strong enough guess what? That type of pain and trauma can wipe you right out, even if it makes you have suicidal thoughts, or it can disrupt your health system. You could be the healthiest person alive, but trying to survive through that stress and trauma, trust me, I know, because I done lost healthy members of my own family that had no health issues, but because Tyrone West is no longer here, they actually left stressing. It's just sad. So let's please just take 2 minutes to recognize that both of these lists, the homicide list as well as the police brutality list, guess what? They are connected. They are connected because that's someone loved one that is no longer here. And it's a system that don't care about us. It's just so sad and devastating. So I'm not going to say anymore at this moment. It is now 7:55, 7:57. We will resume and start reading the sad list. Mic check. Thank you guys so much. The time now is 7:57. So again, thank you guys for taking those 2 minutes, sending positive energy into the airwaves or praying or whatever that suits you best for these names that we're about to read. These are human beings. So let's just show respect and love. And if any time that you may know someone that we're reading on this list, and you can put us in contact with Ibra or of these families on both of these lists, please do, because we want to help them in any which way that we can. So I'm going to turn it over first to our brother Brian to read our community violence list, or maybe Gohard is going to read both of them. I apologize if I got it wrong, but I think brother Brian is going to read one list and Gohard is going to read the next list. So mic check. So maybe I did get it wrong. So Gohard, are you gonna read both of the lists tonight?
It seems as though she has disconnected.
Oh wow. And are you aware if she had both of the lists or one?
I'm not sure.
I can take the lists, Twanda, till she gets back.
Okay, cool. Well, can you read? Yeah, so I didn't know you were still here. Yeah. So if you could read the community violence one, and we could just take it from there. Mic check.
Sure, thank you. So I'm going to read the list of people who have died by homicide in Baltimore since our last West Wednesday. If you could just, might check their names back to me, and we will uphold them in that way. Dominic Williams, 36.
Dominic Williams, 36.
Howard Carter, 44.
Howard Carter, 44.
Michael Morrison, 28.
Michael Morrison, 28.
Darius Brockingham, 22.
Darius Rockingham, 22.
D1 Bryant, 50.
D1 Bryan, 50.
Caleb Thompson, 20.
Caleb Thompson, 20.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, Brother Brian, just thank you for always doing something that's so hard and sad, being the bearer of bad news. But I just thank you because that is an important part of West Wednesday. So thank you again. And just to check in to see if Go Hard is in queue. Did she come back yet? Mic check.
She keeps popping in and out. She's probably joined at least 30 times in the past 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure what is going on with her system.
I can do the police homicides if you want.
Okay, and again, sorry, Go Hard that you're having technical issues right now, and thank you so much for trying to come back in and try to join us. I know how hard it is. That's why, guys, I had to turn my camera off because nowadays, regardless if I'm in my vehicle or in my home, it's just always delay of my voice whenever I have my camera on. So I apologize in advance for not being able to look you guys, letting you see me live and in time. So hopefully we can figure out what's going on and you guys see me again besides seeing a picture or just hearing my voice. But nevertheless, yeah, Brother Brian, definitely appreciate if you read the list. And then also I will be asking, will Nicole be saying my favorite saying, cell blocks for killer cops, Ashe, or will we all be doing it? Mic check.
Check if I will be doing it. If you can hear me, yes, I will be doing it.
Okay, cool.
We hear
Yes,
you.
we hear you. Okay.
So, in the United States of America, the database that we usually access for this has recorded, since last Wednesday, has only recorded 2 days worth of incidents, police homicides. In that time, there have been 6 homicides by police in those 2 days, which is perfectly in keeping with their regular rate of 3 per day. So on December 19th, in Berkeley County, West Virginia, an unidentified man killed by police.
Cell blocks for killer cops, Ashe.
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 Also on December 19th, in Louisa County, Virginia, 35 years old, killed by police, Michael Klein.
Michael
Klein.
Also on December 19th, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, killed by police, an unidentified man.
Cell blocks for killer cops, Ashe.
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 On December 20th, in Bakersfield, California, killed by police, an unidentified man.
Cell blocks for killer cops, Ashe.
Ashe.
Okay.
On December 20th, in Holly Springs, North Carolina, 30 years old, killed by police, Ryan Eric Schlosser.
Ryan
Eric
Schlosser.
Also on December 20th, in LaRue, Ohio, 38 years old, killed by police, Travis W. Hellinger.
Travis W.
Hellinger.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, my queen, Nicole. Thank you so much.
No
And
problem.
thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you, Brother Ben, for always being a man before and behind the movement. And just want to let you guys know that even though this is the last West Wednesday of 2022, this is not the last West Wednesday. Until we have all these killer cops and cell blocks, we're going to constantly be doing this. Like, this is sad, but as sad as it is, it's very important that we make you guys know that we're not going anywhere. And I'm really glad that the pretty much that the national news is watching what's going on and putting it on the news, because people need to know. And for us to be out here literally 492 weeks fighting for accountability, that's 3,444 days of nonstop fighting, not just for my big brother Tyrone West, but for all the victims of police brutality and murder. It is sad. And I also want to add that this has been the deadliest year, 2022, because as we have Uncle Bill week after week reading all the victims of police brutality that is happening around the world, this has been the deadliest year. Like, this is really sad. I heard our brother Brian saying they kill like 3 a day. I honestly think it's more. I honestly think it's at least 7 to 8 bodies a day, and then they mix us up by not reporting and all this foolishness and waiting. But that is just sad and disgusting. And for them to feel that comfortable, like that comfortable all around the world, doesn't matter what city or state you are in, they feel that comfortable of taking someone's life. If that does not speak in volumes, I hush. They're the only occupation that can get away with murder. They're the only occupation. You don't have to go to college. All you need is a high school diploma to take somebody's goddamn life. That is sick and disgusting. That is sick and disgusting. But I want to just leave this in you guys' head that, again, this will not be the last West Wednesday. And as we approach the new year, we have new ways of fighting this system. We're not playing. We're going to hold Lottie Dottie and everybody accountable that goes into office. And we need to really put their feet to the fire as the world watches Baltimore one more time. Like, I'm praying, and my prayer has always been, and the interview that I want and that I'm praying for, because I believe in prayer. Okay, the interview that I really want is the one when we get accountability, when someone is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and just toss the keys the same way George Floyd got accountability. My family deserves accountability too. And it's just sad now, and I pray, but thank God, that when George Floyd was murdered like that, the world was forced to watch as we were in a pandemic, and everybody in the world stood together. This was more than just city to city. This was a worldwide movement. And because of that worldwide movement of our brother George Floyd, that when we saw him scream for his dead mother, like my sister Dion said, all the mothers of the movement, all the sisters heard that cry. And I'm so glad. I'm so sorry that happened to him, but the world heard that cry, and they're still hearing. Had it not been for that cry, David Fowler would not be pretty much being looked at right now, even though he should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Him, Pamela Southall, and all 17 of those murders We deserve accountability. So I don't know which video my brother Ben is going to take us out with, but I'm going to hand it all over to him, and he could take us out with whatever his heart desires. But the next time you will see us, we will be into 2023, and we are praying and we're playing, and we're pretty much are not going to stop until these killer cops are in cell blocks. We're going to, just fight even harder. Like, we're going to put all our strength. I'm tired of swinging at the air. I want to make connections. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to just remember, live to love to live. I love you all. And I'm praying that everybody has a prosperous new year. And just remember that even if you're going through something right now, don't let it predict your outcome. You might be at the bottom of the barrel right now as I'm speaking, feeling down, feeling like the whole world is on top of you. You can't take it anymore, but I urge you, hold on just a little bit longer. You're almost there, because 1 minute you could feel like the world is on top of you, and in a blink of an eye, you could be on top of the world. So just keep that faith, keep that strength, keep that integrity, and just keep doing what you're doing. And that's hopefully positive things, giving love. Just give love no matter whatever you do. Even if you can't even offer a dollar bill, love goes a long way. Love breaks through every and anything. So remember, I love you all. I'm turning it over to our brother Ben, and I want to give a big shout out and send lots of love to the whole entire West Coalition, and let them know this fight has just started. We ain't nowhere near over. We have too much work to do, and I'm willing to do the work. And I just thank you guys. I love you guys for every contribute that you give to West Wednesday, whether it's a phone call, whatever it is. Each and every last one of you are very special to me. I love you guys. Live to love to live. The floor is all yours, brother Ben. Mic check.
CBS News investigation into an unprecedented review underway in Maryland right now of 100 cases of people who died in police custody. All of these deaths happened during the tenure of former state medical examiner Dr. David Fowler. His testimony in the George Floyd murder case last year led to the review. Chief investigative correspondent Jim Axelrod is with us now with more on the story. The interview that we saw with the woman that you talked to was certainly a tease for this piece.
Powerful, Gail.
Yes,
powerful.
it was.
As chief medical examiner for the state of Maryland, Dr. David Fowler oversaw more than 1,300 cases of deaths in custody. His record is now being called into question following his testimony as a witness for the defense in the trial last year of the Minneapolis police officer convicted of murdering George Floyd. A warning: some of the footage of George Floyd's final encounter with police is difficult to watch.
Your Honor, the defense calls Dr. David Fowler.
When medical examiner David Fowler took the stand in 2021 as a defense expert for Derek Chauvin, the cop convicted of murdering George Floyd, Tawanda Jones was watching the trial from her home in Baltimore.
I wanted to knock my TV off the wall. This man that I've been telling y'all about, you put him up to be an expert witness? Are you serious?
This is one of those cases where you have so many conflicting, different manners.
Dr. Fowler saw what few others did.
I would fall back to undetermined.
He argued that a combination of factors made it impossible to determine the true cause of Floyd's death. Dr. Fowler's position conflicted with the clear video evidence.
Find the defendant guilty.
And the jury's verdict.
I was disgusted.
Jones was disgusted because Dr. Fowler was the chief medical examiner for the state of Maryland, who signed off on the ruling that the manner of death could not be determined in another case in 2013, the death of her own brother, Tyrone West.
I instantly died with my brother on July the 18th.
West was pulled over by police in Baltimore nearly a decade ago. He struggled with the cops, was cuffed, and died.
They just said that my brother had some type of health issue and died in police restraint. That was their words. And we're like, what health issue? Like, what are you talking about?
What do you think was going on?
They were covering up.
But Tawanda Jones wasn't the only one outraged by Dr. Fowler's testimony.
To have that type of analysis on the stand, I was appalled.
Dr. Roger Mitchell spent 7 years as the chief medical examiner in Washington, D.C.
I knew I had to do something at that point.
Dr. Mitchell wrote this letter calling for an immediate review of every death in custody during Dr. Fowler's tenure in Maryland. 1,300 cases over 17 years.
In the work that I've done throughout the country, there is a culture of deciding when there is an altercation with law enforcement. Their manners of death are called accidents and undetermined.
How does that change the potential likelihood of a prosecution of a law enforcement officer for the death of somebody in custody?
I think it's a big issue. Many prosecutors won't take a case to prosecution if it's determined as an accident or an undetermined.
More than 400 other medical professionals signed on to Mitchell's letter calling for a review.
When you get a letter from 400 experts saying something's wrong, there's a pretty good chance that they have something that you should take a hard look at.
Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosh has zeroed in on about 100 cases of individuals in custody who were physically restrained and then died, with Dr. Fowler's office then ruling the cause as undetermined.
It was the undetermined that we were most interested in. But more importantly, we want to see, is there a routine that is wrong?
Would it be your expectation that this review could lead to criminal charges if they were warranted?
Well, if they were warranted, I would hope that it would.
The 100 cases under review are being kept secret, but Tawanda Jones refuses to believe her brother's case could be forgotten.
What are you going to do if your brother's case is not among the 100 plus being reviewed?
Oh, I know it is. I know it is. But in a case that is not, I'm going to keep on fighting like I've been fighting.
We wrote to and called Dr. Fowler several times. He did not respond. However, earlier he had said in a statement that he's confident his office, quote, met or exceeded professional standards.
So we're hearing that they're reviewing 100 cases.
Yeah.
What's going to come next? I'm still stuck by her last comment about her brother's case. Do we know if her brother's case is part of it, and what does come next?
Well, first things first. So the AG we just heard from leaves office January 3rd. The incoming Attorney General, a man named Anthony Brown, hasn't committed yet to whether or not this process will continue. He hasn't said it won't. He hasn't given any indication, but we have to wait until January 3rd to see if the next Attorney General will continue this. It's a long and complex process.
Is Fowler still in business, so to speak?
Well, I mean, he is not the medical examiner, but he is offering defense testimony in cases, as you saw he did in the Chauvin case.
But if the new guy comes in, Jim, and decides he doesn't want to review it, is that the end of it?
Yeah, but he hasn't given any indication. Okay. And I will say it's a process that could take, I mean, we're talking weeks, months, years. It's not going to be days.
Right.
But we will be staying on this story. Too important to lose track of.
Jim Axelrod, thank you.